Hello and welcome back to the port. I'm Gav Major and this is Sea Trials. Sea Trials is your gameplays with a tactical overlay, either to help certain people improve their gameplay or to showcase other players' gameplays to just showcase some good tactics and play styles and things that people need to take into consideration. Now, with Season 6 ranked coming to an end, but Season 7 ranked around the corner, we are expecting the same 3 maps to be part of the roster, and therefore some of these tactics of playing in a cruiser are going to be applicable in the next season. So let's hopefully sit back and enjoy and go through some of this gameplay. Now obviously the first thing you want to do is be looking at your minimap, identifying where your team is, identifying where the enemy team is, and then you want to start working out what objectives you want to go for. On the Eternal Abyss's team, someone identifies go for Charlie, that means they're going to be playing Charlie and Bravo. So moving forwards, and then probably the bigger units holding back. So now with the game started proposed in a second, it's time for Eternal Abyss and his team to start making their initial moves. On Eternal Abyss's team there is a Fubuki, a Japard, an Aoba, an Exeter, Dallas, California and Dunkirk, and on the enemy team there's a Fubuki, a Japard, a Leander, a Molotov, a Bedoini, Bayern and a Arizona. Now I've highlighted earlier that the Aoba does have slow traversing turrets, so when you're in a slow traversing turret ship, it's always worth getting your guns locked, just to make sure that your guns are traversing while you also keep an eye on the rest of your team. And the minimap, I'm highlighting that Eternal Abyss team is split into like 2 packs. There's like a pack that seems to be kind of playing B, A, and then there's the main pack which is heading off to Charlie. So he's kind of going against what I'd normally say, but then the Japard looks like he's heading towards Bravo. We'll come back to the Japard later on. So as a cruiser, when you come to an island, you want to be going behind the island, not in front of it. Up on the minimap, I'm identifying some of the usual access routes from both teams, what to expect. So you need to kind of expect to know where the enemy is going to be coming from, therefore you can increase your ability to be able to react to them. Now Atenvis is using this island to actually block himself off as he comes around. This is why I say you need to come around behind an island, because you don't get trapped between a rock and a hard place basically. The enemy team started to be spotted heading over towards Alpha, just marking them on the map there. Now Turnibus lets the rest of his team know that he's spotted as soon as possible, and you can see that Charlie objective is being captured. And you can see that he's got his sonar on, and more of the enemy team are being spotted over towards Alpha. So possible resistance here is probably only going to be a destroyer, and you note that Charlie's the only objective being captured. A highlight on the map are the destroyers, but the Japard is actually AFK. The torpedoes coming in indicate the direction of the enemy torpedo boat. So just keep an eye on, there's no batch of torpedoes back there, but the Japard is AFK. Where his internet glitches out, or he has to quit the game for some reason. So contesting the objective, because obviously the objectives are key. More torpedoes coming in. And you note that it's 3 batches of 3 torpedoes each, so we know the Fubuki's here, and there's the Fubuki. Now the Fubuki makes a poor decision here. The Fubuki comes across in front of the island, therefore he has nowhere to go, and it's very easy for Eternal Abyss to pick him off. Eternal Abyss gets that spotter aircraft launched as well, just to spot him coming in, but yeah. So there you can see the Fubuki had nowhere to go, he was pinned up against the island. So that's the Fubuki dealt with, so that just leaves 1 destroyer per team as the friendly Fubuki is gone. Now in a second, Eternal Abyss will suddenly be spotted, and the highlight on the map is the possible locations of where the enemy destroyer has popped up, but obviously the fighter aircraft will exclude that zone. And then he lets his team know he's spotted, and the Japard is then found. Now you'll note that the Japard is sailing towards that island, so we have another destroyer which is sailing in front of an island. So it's kind of just asking for it. And that's 1 batch of torpedoes from the Japard, so very easy to dodge. And then there's the Japard. You can see the Japard is obviously having some parking issues with the island. And so it's time just to bring those 8-inch guns of the Aoba onto target and start to really devastate the Japard. You'll also note that the Japard, without his Fubuki friend, He's pretty much isolated over here. A couple of battleship shells do come flying in, but as you can see on the minimap, most of the enemy team is far, far away and not really able to assist the Japard in his troubles as Eternal Abyss chases him down around Pound the Island. And there we go, there goes the Japard. So that makes it one objective per team, and Eternal Abyss's team is currently in the lead due to having killed 2 enemy destroyers. However, with the Japard on Eternal Abyss's team being AFK, you can kind of say that both teams are down by 2 destroyers. It's just simply a matter of points rather than actual physical ships in the game. Now, what you're seeing is that the enemy team that have captured Alpha are now moving into Bravo, and it's almost becoming a bit of a funnel where they seem to be getting drawn in. So Eternal Abyss is now taking advantage of this position. He's not spotted, he's got a nice gap in the islands up ahead. So now coming up is just some general good cruiser play. It's about staying undetected but being able to maximise your DPM on the enemy. So here the spotting is being done by the others on his team, so there's no point in him overextending himself and being spotted, but also he's in a decent position where he can keep throwing shells into the meat grinder, which is what I'm going to call Bravo objective at the moment, simply because most of the enemy ships seem to be getting drawn in here, and therefore they're almost entering themselves into a crossfire because they're trying very hard to obviously get the objective advantage. Now they do get the objective advantage, so at the moment this game is in the favour of the enemy team. So there's the Arizona up ahead, and so just using high explosives just to try and get a fire set. So just some time to sit back and enjoy some cruiser play. Now going down to turret view, sometimes turret view does enable you to actually work out if you can get your guns around the island, and also it does look cool sometimes. Now here Eternal Abyss does get spotted, but of course telling the team that I'm spotted at this precise moment isn't helpful. This is what you want to do is at the start of the game or later in the game when there's destroyers around and you think you're being detected by the destroyer, then you say I'm spotted, hint hint, the destroyer's over here. In this kind of situation where you're dealing with an enemy battleship, you're not really going to be helping the team by telling them spotted, so correctly Eternal Abyss has not bothered to tell his team. Now he's able to get some high explosives over this low-lying island, which obviously he's still taking advantage of firing while in cover. Now looking at the minimap, you can see that the enemy team is mostly going for the meat grinder, but there is one sneaky cruiser going around the outside. And Eternal Abyss is now in a position where he needs to make a decision on where he's now going to go. Is he going to push forward into the objective, or is he going to go around and form a crossfire? Now he does the correct thing. He can even, if he charges the meat grinder, you're just going to be more meat for the grinder. But if he goes around and forms a crossfire, that he continues the meat grinding against the enemy in the centre. Now the Aoba does have some very long-range torpedoes, so it's always worth getting those into an objective. And the Arizona is nearly gone. So that should be kill number 3. Now the Leander's coming up around the other side of the island, so it won't be too long left for our friendly Japard. There we go. So the AFK player has now been killed, basically bringing the scores back to their true form. So now it's just down to Eternal Abyss to almost get around this island and start forming that crossfire. Now you get some torpedo hits on the buy-in, and you'll note that the buy-in is flooding. You can tell this by the damage in the top right corner racking up. Highlighted now. Now he's spotted by probably radar from the Russian cruisers. And so he makes the decision to angle his ship away from the enemy in order to kite away. but also slows down just to make sure that he's trying to stay on a 1v1 engagement against the buyer. He's not racing around the corner, he's trying to pick his engagements, focus on a 1v1. And the Bayern's now still flooding, so the Bayern must use his damage con for some fires earlier in the game. And that means he has up to 60 seconds of no damage con, depending how recently he's used it. And there we go, there's a fire as well. And there's kill number 4. And here we see the... So here we can see that the crossfire is being formed as the friendly team kind of converges into Bravo. We've got 2 ships in Bravo and then internal bits coming around the back of them. So there goes the Molotov. And once the Bedoini is gone, there's only a Leander on the enemy team. So I'm getting some HE on the Bedoini. Now it looks like the Exeter could be in a bit of bother here because he's rushed the Bedoini, which does have torpedoes. However, there we go, Kraken unleashed and kill number 5. So the scores right now are even. And here's a good example of kiting. So he turns in when he's reloading, and then he'll turn back out to swing his rear turret out when it's ready to fire. As soon as it's fired, then he turns it back in. So this is a tactic that cruiser players do need to be aware of, because it means that you're angling yourself against incoming fire when you do not need to be any broader than you need to be. So there we are, turning back in. Here the enemy Leander starts to realise his days are numbered and starts laying a smoke screen. So there's no way the enemy can now turn this back. And there we go, kill number 6. So another victory. And that means you gain a star. So now go into the end scoreboard. So here we are at the end scores. 121,000 damage, Kraken Unleashed, High Caliber, Confederate and Liquidator. So a very tiny collection of medals, 6 kills, 85 hits on target, only 2 torpedoes, which caused 2 flooding, which then led to the Liquidator medal, and a shared capture of the base. 6 defender ribbons as well, so all in all quite a tidy set of ribbons and medals, which will obviously turn out to give you a good position on the end table. So there we go, we can see Eternal Abyss has come at the top of the table with his 6 kills, but it also showcases some good cruiser play. Cruisers can be more difficult than some of the other classes due to their fragile nature, but they do also reward very well due to their high DPM, and therefore a cruiser in the right hands can really be quite strong. Amusingly, you can see that on the team, the destroyers were actually the worst players on both teams, which is quite amusing, because normally it's the destroyers which come reasonably on the team due to them having to do most of the captures. And then go into the end screen. So the ship buying cost for tier 5 season ranked has only been 33,000, pretty much normal as per standard, and it seems like he's managed to make a tidy profit at the end of the day. Well, that's been Sea Trials. Sea Trials is basically spotlighting your gameplays or looking over some of your gameplays, adding tactical overlays, either helping you with your gameplay or showcasing a good player's gameplay and showcasing some of their tactics and strategies. So I hope you've enjoyed this and found it useful, and hopefully there's something here that everyone can take away, whether that's you playing cruisers or destroyers in regards to the next season of Ranked. Well, if you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up. If you enjoy this kind of content, feel free to subscribe. If you are already a subscriber, then I'd like to say thank you very much. Your contribution and support for the channel is always much appreciated. I've been the Gallifrey Major, and back to the port.